So, hello, welcome to our Hospitable community and any guests on here with us tonight. Happy to welcome everyone again to the first Hospitable Town Hall for this month of March. Before we kick things off, just want to make sure, just check in. I hope everyone is well, all things considered, hint, hint. Before we kick things off, and for those of you perhaps less familiar, quick reminder that all our town halls are recorded and made available for playback via our, for example, our Hospitable's YouTube channel. So if, for example, you missed February 23rd town hall, like I did, you can go back and listen to that. Also available on Hospitable's YouTube is the playback for our inaugural masterclass that took place in February with Mr. Mark Simpson of Boostly, all about direct booking. So if you missed that one, you can go and have a listen as well. Thought I'd plug that in at the same time. Reminder that asking questions for the Q&A portion of the session, please raise your hand. Small reminder, extra reminder to remember to mute yourself when you're not speaking and you're on stage. If you want to contribute anonymously, no problem. You can submit your questions to our question board on slido.com. So just hashtag hospitable and you'll find it there. We'll be monitoring that platform simultaneously to here. In regard to the Q&A session, let's try and keep it as concise and productive as possible so that we have a chance to hear from as many of you as we can within the time limit that we have. I think that's about it. And I hand off to Pierre to take us through today. Pierre?
Yes, thank you very much, Angela. For my kind of intro, I would have to start by the situation that's currently developing in Europe. Most of the team at Hospitable is European or based in Europe, and it's pretty wide Europe, going really all the way from Portugal to Estonia, where the company has been founded. So obviously it's really heartbreaking for us to have wars striking within Europe, within Europeans, and we hope obviously for everyone affected, and there are many, that there will be peace soon, and at least that in the meantime they're able to find safety and warmth with their, in a new environment and in a challenging situation. In our specific situation as a business, our team includes 6 Ukrainian nationals. We are, I'm not sure if I can say concerned because things are relatively going well, but we are particularly concerned about one of them who is based in Kiev with his family. We do not believe that is in a bad spot, but definitely you're gonna hear just like us, about the situation that's currently developing around Kiev. 3 other developers are based in Ukraine. This especially the team that has been helping us since September to develop around smart locks and the Schlegen code integration. I'll talk a little bit about that. They are currently outside of any area that has been affected by the war, but obviously you can appreciate that the mood is not particularly gaining productivity. All of those people are basically freelance or agencies that are supporting us on a continuing basis, and we have committed on maintaining pay in order to support them and support their families wherever they are based. For those in particular that are currently based in Ukraine, so that's 4 people in our team that are currently located in Ukraine. To make a transition, it's really hard to go away from that kind of subject. But so far, I want to say that we have not seen an immediate impact of the war on our business. But I do want to appreciate, obviously, that there can be some concerns for reduced demand for travel, for hospitality in general. That typically is what's been happening for previous cases. What I want to say is that simply if there was something happening, we'd obviously be sharing that for you and for everyone, to our users and in those town halls in particular. For now, we are not seeing any kind of evidence that this is affecting travel plans for Europe or for the United States in particular. Now, we have seen so far for the month of February a stellar growth in the number of customers. We have reached a record of we reached a new record of 387 new customers that have joined the as Hospitable.com customers. We are particularly happy about it and excited about it because we have a strategy that is focused on serving property owners, real estate investors, and we are pretty happy and it's very exciting when we see that this is working. No major investment. No major investment. Come on, I have to stop that. I want to thank David, who has been joining our investor crew for the team. So thank you very much, David. David is, I think, a real estate investor who is based in Canada and has been a Hospitable customer and has been discovering this opportunity to invest into Hospitable through this tunnel, just like a lot of you. So if you want to join David and the other 37 investors that are currently investing into Hospitable, you can join us on invest.hospitable.com, invest.hospitable.com. And one third update that is still based on people, but mostly the ones that we would like to have join our team. So I'm happy to announce that we are now currently recruiting a recruiter. It is long overdue. We are also still recruiting and interviewing developers, front-end and back-end developers to join our team as well. If you know someone, if you want to throw your hat in the ring, especially as a recruiter, because that's a new position, you can apply on angel.co/smartbnb, angel.co/smartbnb, and we'll be interviewing qualified profiles quite quickly. And a team has been changing, and that's basically going to make a nice transition with Matthew. We already have one salesperson that's going to be joining us very soon and is going to benefit from a fantastic experience working with Matthew. And we're looking forward to having the second associate joining our sales team in particular. All of that is still there to serve property owners, real estate investors, to demonstrate the capacities of our product and ensuring that we have customers that are aligned with the value of that product. So I will let Matthew share a few other updates on our customers and satisfaction to get started. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Pierre. I appreciate those kind words, as always. So nice to hear. So we'll get started talking about our success team, right? Seeing some of our customer support numbers. This week, our NPS since the last time we met was down a touch to 59, with the average score that hosts were giving our product an 8.7 out of 10. And for those of you that don't know, we regularly ask our hosts if they would promote our product, give us a score from 0 to 10. And of course, anything above 50 is considered excellent. We're always striving for that world-class number of 70. And, that feedback that you provide on the NPS score, that does come back directly to us. It's visible by anybody on the team. So we always openly encourage that feedback to come our way. For our current customers and our customer count, Pierre mentioned that things were growing. Customer count revenue continue to grow at very strong rates. February earned us the highest number of new trials that we've ever had, even in a shortened month. So that's super exciting. And then a bit more exciting is that also seeing an increase in the conversion rate. So just so you have an idea from the last group that essentially could have converted, 44% of those new trials converted, and that number historically hovered around 30%. So finding more of a fit, our product is we're seeing it to be more of a fit for those hosts who are walking through our doors, which is obviously amazingly exciting here on our end. What we are hearing from hosts these past 2 weeks have been really interesting with this. I've heard this, and I've heard some really kind of strong opinions on these. But one thing that I'm hearing is hosts want more and more channels. I spoke to a host recently who wanted to add even more channels to his current channel distribution strategy, even though he was nearly at full occupancy. And I think back to my college economics professor, Rody Borg, hey, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and I can fully understand that. So, for example, Marriott Homes and Villas, that's one that I'm seeing hosts ask about quite often. But then when we ask how many reservations, what kind of traffic are we seeing, we haven't seen any significant numbers from any of those. So I spoke with a host recently who had been on for, I think, 6 months or so, and they got one reservation over the past 6 months from that specific channel. But it is something that owners are asking for, and one that we're hearing more and more about, each and every day. So something that, we consider internally is that the need for an iCal at the very least, so we can connect to some of those additional channels, especially those that aren't generating that many revenues, but just as an easy reservations, but just as an easy way to get those to come through to our system. But then on the opposite side, which has been really interesting, and I feel like I haven't heard this in quite some time, I've had more and more hosts who are just all in on Airbnb and don't want to hear any other noise. We had a host who was like, I'm at 90+% occupancy. I don't even want to deal with any other channels, across my larger portfolio. So even hosts giving like more pushback on direct as well. Like, no, I'm good. Airbnb's doing it for me. I don't want to focus on direct. That's a lot more work than I've signed up for. So it's been very polarizing seeing the two, ideas and coming through. And it's really interesting, just sitting in my seat and hearing both sides of it all. And again, I say this all the time, and it's something that I've seen in far more than any other industry I've been a part of. Hosts really are just like snowflakes, right? There are no two hosts that are alike, even if you're in the same neighborhood, even if you have the same number of properties. Everybody's business is a bit different, and that's one of the most exciting things about this industry is you have, you can have that those differences and still be successful. On the marketing side, so keep your eyes out. We're going to be sending out some invites for our first Hospitable Hosts workshop, which is titled "Want to Become a Super Host? Ask a Hospitable Host." So the live event's going to take place on March 31st. It's going to be led by some wonderful hosts that have a wealth of knowledge to share. We'll hear from some of our hosts, Linda Hayes, Dave Hiller, and Cullen Tate, who are hospitable hosts, of course, in more ways than one. So keep an eye on your email as the invite. It's going to be sent in the next couple of days. So once you get that email, register quickly. They have some great information to help you. And these hosts have a wide range of portfolios. They've all started off right where some of us are starting off, and they, again, are going to have a wealth of knowledge to share with us on how to be a super host, how to maintain that super host, and, of course, what to do with that super host status and how you could leverage it to help your business. And that's about it. Super excited for that next sales hire. Super excited to grow the team and continue to move on forward, and bring somebody else on to help our hosts, help educate our hosts on how we can help them and, make sure that they have full understanding of what Hospitable can do for you. And that's it for me. Thanks all.
Thanks, Matthew. A lot of very exciting updates on your side. And now for me, back to me. So on the product updates. So what have we been doing in the past 2 weeks in the last town hall? So the first thing that you've heard about, because it's the thing that we decided to feature during our last newsletter, is alteration request. That's a very interesting development because it's something that builds on our experience on developing with our new, it's no longer very new, official API integration with Airbnb that allows us to develop that relatively quickly. So you are now able to receive, accept, and send alteration requests for Airbnb at this point in time, and we'll be reusing the same workflow moving in the next few weeks for manual bookings and direct bookings in particular. We know that there are certain customers that reach out to us in relation with issues where they cannot accept or send those alteration requests. I think there is something in relation with co-hosting in particular. We have escalated the problem to the Airbnb API team, and we'll be circulating that with you, the outcome. We believe that there is an issue in relation with Airbnb in particular. Second thing, smart locks. It was definitely a sad feature of the last town hall. Appreciate, obviously, the feedback that you were sharing. We've been able to, based on your feedback, we're able to kind of highlight the urgency of improving our integration. We are still not out of the woods just yet. I have to communicate that clearly. We have multiple theories to kind of try to find a higher success rate, and there are a lot of things that we keep exploring. On the engineering level, that means reducing the volume of requests that we're actually sending to the devices. We realize that we're sending 2, sometimes 3 requests for a given reservation code, for a PIN code to be created. And we were informed by Schleg that this is something that can actually that can actually overload the memory of the devices, and the success rate drops as a result. So we're working on reducing the volume of requests. Schlage has also identified themselves a problem in relation with the discovery of locks. So in particular for users that have a larger amount of devices, so we don't have any, we expect that the experience is working nicely. For users that have up to 5 locks, we were starting to see a degradation of service for users that have more than 5. And especially, we had that fantastic customer who have been trying a Schlage integration for quite some time that has 36 locks, and for which I believe we need to have a manual integration to fix the problem. That problem has now been resolved on our side and on Schlage's side to ensure that it's expected to be working according to expectations. We have also been warned of users that were seeing the wrong times being populated for creation of those codes or updating those codes. We are also an internal engineering team is working directly to ensure that the check-in and check-out times are going to be correct. It's actually tied to the first solution that I wanted to highlight, so reducing the volume of requests, but having the request that actually is the one important once we know really well what is going to be the check-in and the check-out times for the creation of the code. So you can expect updates on that. It's an imminent release that's going to be deployed today, or maybe tomorrow if we believe that we feel not confident that we can follow up on those issues. Another thing that has happened to us that's not making me any happier, mobile app. If you have been trying to check Hospitable on the Apple Store in recent days, and I want to say weeks, you will see that you no longer can access results for the Hospitable mobile app. App has been removed by Apple on basically the claim that how can I sum it up? They are on the belief that we should offer in-app purchases for subscriptions, and we allow users to subscribe to Hospitable from the mobile application. That's not the case because the in-app purchases working from Apple actually do not cannot work with a business model where you're going to have a different number of listings or properties that can be charged for months over the other. And that is actually supposed to be a well-expected and a well-defined exception to the ability of Apple Store to enforce in-app purchases. So we're working with them to basically get Apple to get our application back online in light of that particular exemption. This is also the way other applications in the industry are working, and there is no reason for us to be singled out in relation with our own pricing. For the time being, you unfortunately would have to reach out to our support team. So you can send an email if you would like to support@hospitable.com. The support team will be able to guide you and communicate you with a link that will allow you to download the mobile application locally as part of a test user on the test flight, if you know a thing or two about mobile app development on iOS. So you will be able to have the mobile application. This is unfortunately a frustrating experience, and we want to thank you for your patience while the matter is addressed with Apple. And we see basically no reason why that's happening, and we hope that the app can be back online soon. Fourth thing is about Booking.com. Booking has upgraded their connection flow, and that is having an impact on your ability for us to accept the connection from your Booking.com properties. So that's something that we've been working on. There was a deploy actually earlier today by our good developer Toby, who has been working on that. And basically, there's still going to be some development on this today, but you should expect to see a resolution of that problem in the next few hours. And last, finally, some progress on Direct. So we have released fees, and we're displaying the rates and the quotes for dates that are queried on your Direct Booking website or your booking widget, in alignment with the fees that are populated from your lead listing on within your Hospitable properties that typically would be your Airbnb listing if you don't have a very complex setup. We have aligned, by the way, that calculation of fees with Airbnb, and there was a lot of discussion internally about how we could process discounts. So we went with the default, what Airbnb is doing, which is discounting. So for example, if there is a weekly discount, offering a discount, basically applying the discount on a nightly rate. So if you have, 7 nights at $200, we would apply, let's say, a 10% discount on those $700. We actually wanted to go another way, which was taking into account any kind of management fees and community fees and offering a discount on them. We didn't explore that solution moving forward. We're going to stick with Airbnb as a default because they've done all the research to understand what that's about. So you can try out now, today, on your direct booking website, if it's published on your booking widgets, to basically check out the calendar and ensuring that the rates are matching your expectations. If they are not, I would encourage you to check your fees set up for that property within Hospitable directly, so that we can ensure that this is going to be correct. If there is any kind of feedback that you would like to share about the way the price is getting displayed or is being computed, we would love to hear your feedback, and you can share that again by sharing it to the support team on support@hospitable.com. What is the team working on next? Well, you know what? Payment processing. We're going to work on payment processing. We have started the development process. Costin has basically has developed the alteration request where Airbnb is working full-time on payment processing for direct bookings. Sam, who has been promoted also as engineering lead, is also working on payment processing. And Ben, with a glorious product engineering lead, is also managing the process with them. So we will be excited. We will have some updates to share. We will definitely have some more questions to share as we build those integrations and we build those features. It will take some time. What we'll be sharing with you is basically as it happens, development. So due to a commitment for building in public and sharing with you as early as possible about how we are framing specific features. It's a busy product update. Unfortunately, I wish we'd have better news, but we have new alteration requests. It was a long time coming, if I may say, and we're finally back to work starting on direct after solving quite a few issues across the board. I think Angela, yes?
Yeah, I think that's time for the Q&A. Right? That's a perfect transition into that.
That would be great.
So just a reminder, everyone, you can raise your hand if you want to ask a question here on the platform. Otherwise, for now, I'm going to move to Slido. And we do have a question. We have several questions. There's one from Vince, which I think Pierre has already responded to, having connection issues with booking.com. So Vince, if you're on here, I hope your answer has been met. Your question has been met with the right answer. So we'll solve that one.
That's just to provide. Sorry to interrupt, but
go ahead, Pierre.
I just wanted to confirm that indeed Toby is working progressively on accepting the Booking.com properties. That's an update that he shared with me just 10 minutes ago. They are still troubleshooting this particular process to ensure that your properties can be connected, and that is again due to a change on the Booking.com side. So thank you, Vince, for your question.
We also, I added someone, but they're not joining yet, so I'll take the next one. Oh, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Hello, Mark. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, and I appreciate all the information about the state of the world and the state of the employees at Hospitable. I have a quick question. It's rather rudimentary. I only have 4 properties, and there are... a lot of the messaging was set up for me / before me, and I have had issues. I guess my question is, am I expected to be using Hospitable as manual messaging? Meaning I get something from Airbnb, I can respond in Hospitable, and it'll go through the channel. I've had breaks in that chain, so that's why I'm asking.
Well, Mark, it's entirely up to you, right? So you're just on Airbnb. You just have your one account that you're managing.
There's one account. There's three. It's VRBO, Booking, and Airbnb.
So in that case, then using our inbox seems like it makes the most sense, just because you can manage everything directly from there for the most part when it comes to communication. So that's really, we see our hosts who are on multiple channels. They're using our inbox regularly just to make it nice and simple in one place. And especially if you're not, now with the alterations, there's even more that you're able to do and even accept or decline bookings. So yeah, if you're on multiple channels, I would absolutely suggest using the messaging from our inbox, sending those automated messages. You're going to see them go through directly on the channel. And then you can even set up for you or, your future team, those canned responses. So you can set those up within Hospitable and then utilize those across the board so that you can have consistency in your messaging, whether it's on Airbnb, whether it's on Verbo, whether it's on Booking.com.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. All the automated messaging is going through great. It's the, I guess, inbox / manual, stuff that doesn't fit into automated or canned responses that I'm having issues with. So someone's asking a very specific question, I have to respond to it. I respond to it in Hospitable, but it doesn't actually hit the customer because it's not tracking all the way back to that channel.
So you're having a bit of a bug. Well, that's definitely. Have you reported that to our support team just yet?
I haven't, but it sounds like that's what I should be doing.
Yeah, you can let us know, share with us, an example with a thread. They can take a look at it because that's not what the expected behavior. I mean,
Okay.
Typically for like Airbnb, by the time you send a message in Hospitable, you could open up the Airbnb app and I've seen it where it's already there and already sent to your guest. So we do expect that to happen pretty quickly. But yeah, send us some examples, support@hospitable.com. Or you could always, hey, send me one and I'd make sure that it makes its way over. But if you can give us an example as well, that's going to help the team even better to take a look and see what may be the cause of that.
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
No worries, Mark. We appreciate you.
Have a good day.
And Mark, if I may follow up again, do you need any kind of assistance to basically get onboarded on Hospitable to ensure that the transition is working nicely for you?
If that's available, I would take it.
I think that we should absolutely help you out. Just simply, even if that's just taking a bit of time on our side to ensure that you at least are aligned with what you can do and what you should be doing, maybe on other channels. So what you can do really on Hospitable. I think that's something that can be an option to take on Matthew. I don't know, because there is going to be another person in the team will be on vacation, so we'd have reduced availabilities. But I think that's something that could be great. So as you report the specific problem that you are facing, make sure to also ask to get some kind of a support call set up, so that we can simply take some time to answer your questions.
Perfect.
About the product.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mark.
That's something that we do encourage, right in our app. If you go through the Help Center, there is always that opportunity to schedule a call with us. We also do some Q&A sessions where, we share some training videos and then we open it up, for questions when it comes to account setup. And you can find all of that by going to our Help Center and then clicking on that Schedule a Call button. You'll see support calls. You'll even see office hours with our management team, and then the book a time for that Q&A so that you can get some of your questions answered.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark, for that. So next up we have Storm. Storm, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you, guys. So I'm fairly new to Hospitable, probably about a month that I've been in there and kind of going through the transition, but I've been doing short-term rentals since 2015. So first I want to say, my prayers are with your team members that are in the affected zones, with the war going on either side. My question is, so I've also just up until, this year, I've really just stayed in Airbnb and used all the features in there. But I this year have onboarded with Hospitable. I want to open up our audiences, and I've also onboarded with Turnover B&B, which I figured out how to do the whole webhooks thing, which was interesting. And it seems to work as far as posting the reservations to Turnover B&B and creating the task or whatever. But I also see in Hospitable there's a task section, so I feel like I'm double working, setting that both up. So my question is, will there be a version in the future where we'll be able to onboard our cleaners through there and kind of just stay in Hospitable and pay them through the Hospitable and pretty much do what Turnover B&B does, but all in one place?
So, if I may, Storm, thank you very much for your very kind word, and congratulations for being a super host for the past 6 years. Really appreciate your trust in working with us. You're right that there is indeed an overlap in relation with the feature sets. Turnover B&B and Hospitable are different products, and they're basically different bases of theories, basically to back them up. We so since you are new to this community, we are trying to do few things relatively well, and right now the things that we're working on is really direct bookings. I think the ability to generate your direct booking website and offering still an experience that at least better than what we can currently achieve through Airbnb or through different OTAs. We do have, based on those town halls that we're having with our customers every 2 weeks, we really discovered that there was a particular problem and a particular challenge for property owners, for real estate investors, that was really about managing your team. And that goes, I think, really the first situation that is the one that you faced, Tom, which is really the cleaning team. How do you make sure that they have access to the information, which we have, and third parties like Turnover B&B are relying on. But there are also far more professionals that are involved to make a really great short-term rental business with you. That can be guest communication specialists, receptionists, if you call them. There can be maintenance people. There could be people that can consult with you to improve your guest experience, your quality, your revenue management, your marketing for your direct booking website, for example. So that's something that we would like to have the capacity to be working on, and that is referred to us internally too as the marketplace of service providers that we've been talking about for a few times during those panels. And yeah, that's really something that we would like to be working on. That's realistically is not something that I believe we're going to be working on this year. I would love to be proven wrong. That also depends of whether our customers believe in us and are also, if I'm honest, investing into the business because they're passionate about it and want to see us basically accelerate the development for those projects. But the vision that we have is really all those problems are the problem that you're facing is really about the access to the reservations, access to the data that you have across your channels. And we believe the best place to double down in terms for property owners and real estate investors and making sure that we are the best product for you is going to be to have this kind of marketplace or service providers. For now, I think we are challenged as it is working on direct, so we need to nail that part well first. Is that a satisfying answer for you, Storm? It's a long answer. I'm sorry for that. I need to be shorter.
No, it was actually very informative, and it did answer the question that I had. I was on the Zoom that you guys had with Mark with the direct bookings, and I just got my book yesterday that he wrote. So I was really, I love the way you're approaching all of this, and I love full transparency in a company that's not going to say, yeah, we're going to do that too and just sound good versus no, we're going to do one thing and we're going to do it great and then, build from there. So I definitely did my homework on the different platforms available, and just definitely for me, I feel more confident in, and so far it's been productive. So I appreciate you guys, and thank you for taking my question.
Thank you, Storm. That is heartwarming.
Yeah, that was so great. Thank you so much, Storm. You're awesome.
I think we can take another one from here. I think it was Maribel next. And then we can check out all the questions on Slido. Hi, Maribel.
Hi, Angela. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Maribel. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. I wanted to thank everyone here. It's my first time on the town hall. Every time I just kept missing it, so I'm really glad I caught it today.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank everyone for all your support. I have been communicating through the customer service and It's been great. My integrations have definitely taken my stress level down. So I really appreciate it. I do have one quick question. Hopefully, you guys can answer this. I currently have 3 Airbnb accounts and I do everything on Hospitable. I am having trouble changing the price rates through the calendars, and it keeps giving me an error message, which I will address with customer service. But one thing that really hinders my communication with my guests is that I cannot send them pictures. Like sometimes a quick picture to show them exactly where to go. It works really best as they're checking in. It reduces their stress level, and I have to log into the specific Airbnb account. Once I get in there, then it just takes me a little bit longer. And I was hoping that you guys maybe integrate that feature into the platform or the app.
That is great to hear, Maribel. I think that's something that we kind of talked about at one point, especially in relation with Airbnb, and I think the story that you have here is great. I think so. I would like to understand in particular if are the pictures that you're sharing through the inbox always going to be different, or do you have like specific collections that you're more likely to be sharing to reply to questions from your guest?
Sometimes they're different. For example, if they don't know how to use a thermostat, and because it's a smart thermostat, and sometimes guests from other countries are not very familiar, I can literally draw a picture, like, point them at the right direction, like where to hit, because there are specific questions that they may have. Or I have guests who don't know how to use the door code, and I have to kind of show them. I send them a quick picture, but then I have to go through the Airbnb app, and they are the tailored ones, the ones that my guests from overseas are really not familiar with the kind of technology that is used in there, and I need to walk them specifically on something.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm not going to promise anything in terms of feature. I know that we would love to have that. Okay, to be very clear, there's nothing there's nothing for me in terms of objections. I think we can technically achieve that. The problem that we're facing with features like this is, this is kind of a nice, afternoon feature or something that we can develop quickly, but that comes at the expense of the focus on another part of the product. I do believe, and I'm kind of looking on that on our own kind of internal designs. I do believe we already designed something in relation with the inbox to allow you to have, and we thought about the user experience here a little bit, to have those kind of upload icons to facilitate those kind of one-off messages with a one-off picture. I'm kind of going through that. I'm not finding it.
Let me ask you, Maribel.
Yes.
What's your guidebook situation?
Okay, I have my guidebook. I do have pictures for the check-in. So sometimes guests do miss their check-in time, and those disappear. So then sometimes they reach me like at 1 a.m, like I need to check in, and those guest check-in, like the check-ins are gone. So I do have to send them something right away. Unfortunately, my Airbnbs are set up in a way that it's all self-done, including the gate system, and it has app for the gate system and app for the door, and some guests are having difficulty. So I was just hoping that maybe this feature helps.
Yeah. And one thing that comes to my mind, so there's two things that I think of actually. The first is we do see hosts that will break down like their check-in messages that they send to their guest. So, for example, you send one that has the relevant information a couple days beforehand, but maybe the morning of check-in, we send a standalone message that describes the smart lock and how to utilize it. And then with that, you can attach a specific image to that message automatically, which would have, and I see this with a lot of hosts, has that picture of the door lock and then the instructions on how to use it specifically. The other thing that that comes to mind. And we see this, like I see guests who have multiple messages that go out, right? Like the morning of is the door code, the day before is a picture of the house with, hey, this is the unit that you're looking at, so that you can automate that and still send an automated message, but also include that image specifically targeting that piece of information you're sharing. The other thing is just, creating a quick and easy guidebook that you manage. So, you can use one of those softwares that already exist to create it. I also see hosts go on Google Slides, put together a quick little slide deck that shows all those different features, right? Hey, this is how you operate the door code. This is how you operate the smart thermostat. So giving your guests that information and then sharing that link with them. So hosting that on your Google Drive or hosting it somewhere in the cloud, sharing that link for that guidebook with them so that the message is always going to be there, even if they check in late, and something that they could even check in, a few days in advance, and it'll have that information for them. So it saves you some time. It gives your guests all the information they need in advance, and that could hopefully reduce some of that need that you have to be sending those messages kind of ad hoc. I'm sure they're still going to happen, right? We're always going to have to do that. But those may be a couple of strategies you could use to kind of reduce some of that work that you need and make sure that your guests have the information they need when they need it.
Thank you so much. I want to check out the Google Slides. I didn't think about that. So
Yeah.
that would definitely help.
I love that one. Google Slides, and then I use Bitly, bit.ly, for a nice link shortening tool. I can, give a fancy name to that link, and then I share that cutesy little link instead of that big Google Drive link. But then it's something that you manage, you have control of. You can make it as fancy or as straightforward as you've seen. I've seen the entire range of them. But it's a great option, and then you can even have one for each of your properties, put that in an automated message with Hospitable, and you reduce your workload there by a few steps.
Oh, most definitely. That will help. I thank you so much for the information.
Absolutely.
It seems Matthew is more helpful than I am. Thank you very much, Matthew and Maribel, for this exchange. I think in our side, I was checking with Ben on our design tool Figma to check what's happening. I'm not seeing it, something to upload pictures, but hey, if Ben is on it, something is going to happen at a given point in time. Obviously, at his discretion to have a break from the work on direct pay and direct in particular. Thank you for checking that out, Ben, offline.
And just to follow up with that, sorry, it's going to be a question about direct again.
Sure,
From Slido, just checking on those. So we have a question from Anonymous saying, is there a way you could integrate a toggle on-off feature for pushing pricing to Airbnb or Vrbo? This way we can still use pricing for direct booking site. I believe it's also the same person has a follow-up. Follow-up, for example, I was pushing pricing from Price Labs, but had turned pricing sync off and did not want Price Labs to update Airbnb Vrbo, but it did.
So that is a great question. So when we're building a feature and we're mapping it out, we want to optimize for the 97% of users. There are going to be scenarios where you want to have a completely different pricing for your direct bookings than you have for your Airbnb and Vrbo channels, including when you want to integrate it with Price Labs. And I want to say you're going to have to fight the system for that. You don't have to fight the software to achieve that. The way the system is built, the way the software is built in relation with pricing sync and markups, is that you're going to have one uniform price for all your channels. That is going to be an input from either from your Hospitable calendar or from a third-party pricing integration, which can be Price Labs. The price then needs to vary for each channel, nonetheless. You can have a baseline of 100 because you're expecting to be paid 100. But to get paid 100, you're going to need to add 3% on Airbnb, 10%, 8% on Vrbo, some other percentage on Booking.com. And that's where you will be able to, I don't think that feature is actually implemented. That's a good takeaway here. But having a markup also for direct booking websites, so that the price that we display to your guests is basically going to be marked up by a certain percentage. So what I would like in particular for this person, and I believe it's Monique, is to basically understand if this is something that that has to be completely different, because there is an expectation that because the channel is different, the pricing needs to be completely different from what is experienced on Airbnb and Vrbo, or if it's a proportion, like there's going to be a different markup. That means it's 10%, maybe 20%. It can be 100% different if you want to make it so. But indeed, at this point in time, we are relying on the assumption that that there is going to be one price that's going to have different flavors, if you would like, across different channels. So there's going to be 103 for Airbnb, 110 for Vrbo, but there is a uniformity in the money you get paid across all the channels. Because our assumption is that, first of all, the gains in terms of ease of use for every customer that is interacting with the product this way is probably far outweighs the additional liberty to do something very different that probably will not only be perceived valuable for the top 3%. Monique, is that you?
Yes, just added Monique. She'd raised her hand, I guess, to pick off your
Fantastic.
point, Pierre. Sorry to Michelle and Tim, just
Fantastic.
a quick one.
That's actually great. So Monique, can you answer my question? How different do you want to have the direct bookings price and the price on Airbnb and Vrbo?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so yes, I've been using markups and it's been working great. Here's the thing though, with Airbnb, I'm able to do promotions, right? Promotions or do rule sets, and Vrbo doesn't allow me to do that. So if I want to have specific days or different rates on specific days, I have to manually input those in Vrbo. So what I was doing before this whole scenario came up in my head, I would go into Vrbo and try to manually put in a date, but then obviously Price Labs Hospitable would then overwrite it. So it would only be there for a few hours until there was an overwrite, which was very frustrating. And I was like, there has to be a better way.
Yeah, as you're saying, you're fighting the software because it was not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, it wasn't necessarily just you guys. It was just, I'm fighting all the softwares, right? I'm like, this is ridiculous. It was very frustrating. So what I ended up doing was I just connected Price Labs directly to Airbnb and directly to Vrbo, and that seemed to be working. And I turned off the pricing sync from Hospitable, and I was like, this works great. It's fantastic. But then I didn't realize that I still had the sync on Price Labs, and then Price Labs overwrote Vrbo. And I was very frustrated because it pushed it to you guys, and apparently any update on the Hospitable calendar pushes to the other two platforms. So, okay, I figured that out, and I turned off. Let me know if you're not following me. And then I turned off.
I am.
Okay.
This is probably the part that is concerning to everyone else.
Yeah,
but
and then I understand, but I want you guys to understand so you can, maybe think how this might work. And I realize again that this is, like you said, it's not going to affect 97% of your customers, but okay, so then I turned off the Price Labs sync, and that fixed the problem. But then now I don't have pricing on direct booking. So I'm like, how do I have any kind of workaround to have,
That's
so if there was a
interesting.
toggle off and on, so what I thought was, maybe this is easy for you guys, maybe it's not. If there was a toggle on and off button to where I could still push pricing to Hospitable, but not push it to Airbnb and Vrbo, that way I can have pricing on direct booking, that would be fantastic. I just don't know how that's going to affect you guys on the back end.
I think that's the part that I'm concerned about, but I would have to follow up on you because that is where it gets really technical. But I do believe that for direct bookings, whereas I think there are still changes around that, around the context, the concept of lead listings, what are the prices that are going to be secured on our own thing. So we will show the prices from Airbnb, definitely for direct, that are currently, So I think
that's a bit of a doozy.
Sorry, guys.
No worries, though. It's valid. It's valid because especially as we push direct bookings, like, and pricing tools are going to struggle to push that there. It's not like it's not like it's the craziest thing I've heard today. That's
I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, I feel like it's really valuable, and maybe other hosts don't understand it because they haven't thought this through, the same way. But I mean, I wish we could just pull the pricing from Airbnb, right? With those promotions and discounts. But it seems like that's not something that any platform is able to do. Is that correct?
I think there are some things in relation with Airbnb's API itself about promotions, and the promotions API being available. But I think that's the case now, and I mean, I think from what I'm hearing, the best way to solve that problem is simply to catch that promotion API and either mark the price up to not make that promotion available, or deciding to include that within the price for your direct bookings.
You mean
Correct?
from Airbnb, use the promotions?
If we get the promotions from Airbnb, and basically we can compute that for either pricing sync or for your direct bookings, whether
Yeah,
including that or exclude that, giving you the choice, the toggle to include those channel specific promotions.
yeah, that would be great, because then I could just kind of control it from Airbnb, and then it would push it to direct booking and to Verbo. But I haven't seen who does that, you know?
I think
I think
that's maybe because there are limitations based on Airbnb itself, and this
Okay.
is why you would not. Promotions. I have a confirmation. I was checking on the Airbnb API documentation right now. Promotions are not available through the API. Now there are
Yeah,
plenty of things that we could do differently, for sure. But yeah, thank you very much for
no
coming
problem.
on stage. It's
Thanks
an
for hearing
interesting
that one.
challenge,
Thank you.
and we're gonna try and figure this out.
Okay.
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much, Monique.
So, can we hear from Michelle next? Michelle, thank you so much for being so patient.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Michele, for I don't know.
I hope I'm saying
Hi,
it
how
right.
you
For being
doing?
patient. Michelle. I'm gonna go with Michelle. How are you
Thank
doing
you all
today?
for having me. Can you guys hear me?
Fantastically well. Yes.
Okay. This is actually my first time attending. I'm very happy that I'm able to attend.
Woo!
Although I've been with you guys for a while, utilize, a lot of features that really, really helped us. We only had one unit that was active with you guys for a bit of a time. The other unit, it wasn't necessary. So now we're in a position that we are utilizing, where we're about to have probably about 5 different units on with you guys. And this is the issue that we're kind of running into. And it's probably something simple that you guys already have. I just don't know it because I haven't had the time to figure out all of it or even attend one of these town halls. And so it is
Okay.
with basically it's sending different messages. My first question is sending different messages to different listings. Um, I know we have the same messages, and then I do have some custom messages out there as well. This one is specifically as it relates to um, one of our listings that technically doesn't have to have all the detail that we send out to all the other ones. Are we able to customize what is sent to just one listing?
So yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with your own setup, but I suspect that there is probably something that you can do in relation with the property scope. So when you are editing a messaging rule at the bottom of the page, you have basically 3 little boxes
Mhm.
about the platforms, about the channels, about the accounts, about the host, and the one on the right is actually the most important one that decides to scope for properties. So what I understand that you would like to achieve is that you want to have multiple different rules for different properties, and the reality is that that's the most important part. You want to create or update your messaging rule and ensuring that this is going to be sending to one property, to the property that you select in particular.
Yes, one.
So that can be a group property. And you are going to need indeed to create a new messaging rule for the different properties, so that you are sure of what is going to be sent for each of those properties, and you can adjust the content, the templates according to the property that this rule is scoped with. There is a more technical setup, if that is not confusing enough.
Mhm.
There is a more technical setup which is relying on custom codes. In that case, you would create a custom code that will be that you can create from guest experience product, that can be scoped to those different properties. And you can create a variable that can be, for example, let's call it don't name like paragraph. You name it paragraph, and you can actually use that custom code across for your messaging rule that will be scoped to all properties. But you would only be working on the adapting basically that specific paragraph from your messaging rule templates.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably not the way I would recommend you to go, but that's something that could be interesting for other users that are listening to us and would like to learn tips about
Right.
having more control. For
And
you, I
When
believe the
you
best.
state
Yeah,
codes,
sorry.
I'm sorry. When you state codes, are you talking about like the code for the for getting into a unit or?
well, so here's a great example that you could utilize. Like, let's say we
Mhm.
have 3 different units and they all have a different parking setup. So you
Yes.
could go into our system and create a custom code. So that's that percent. You see it highlight in purple. It's the text replacement. You could create your
Yes.
own codes and let's say parking, and then you'll create a parking code for each of your properties that would have specifically what those parking instructions are. And then
Got it.
this way, you just have like one master check-in message, but that check-in message pulls in the different codes for those different properties. Like Pierre said,
Right.
a bit more technical. We see hosts do that. We also see hosts just create a message and then use that copy button down at the bottom of the screen to make an exact replica, make your changes for your next property.
Okay, that's great. So that kind of
Thank
well
you so
leads into
much,
my next
Michelle.
question.
Yeah,
Thanks.
and don't
So
hesitate to reach out to the support team either and say, hey, could you help me walk through? And we'd be happy, more than happy, to help you
yes,
achieve what you're looking for.
thanks. So also, and I've heard, and I didn't know that this was something that you guys have, and as far as codes as it relates to your to getting inside of your unit to your smart lock. Um, we want to because we were manually going in and assigning codes. I believe, and I don't know if this is true, but do you guys assign or able to assign different codes and communicate with our smart lock?
That depends on which smart lock you're using, but yeah, there's a possibility. What system, what locks, what are you using?
Oh my God, I'm sorry, I don't know the name, but I can
Ah,
find out. But can you tell me which
yeah. So
you do?
right now, what we've been talking about, we have a direct integration with the Schlage encode locks, where we can set the code, we can send the message in, we can send the code in a message to your guests as well. There
Okay.
are there is also other options where, depending on your lock provider, we may be able to use our iCal connection and send the reservation details to the code, build a code based on the last 4 digits of the guest's phone number, and then take that information and also set it to the in the messaging itself. So we have
Okay.
that Schlage. We also have iCal available, and there are a lot of lock providers that can work with an iCal. So find the name of it, and then you may have to do a touch of research, just asking them, they'd have an idea. And we also have an integration with a system called Our Boy Apps, which is an app that if you use like a Smart Things hub, you can actually automate all that as well using
Mm-hmm.
our system.
Okay, great. So I'll get the lock name and I'll be in touch. But
Sounds
that
great.
Thank
is
you,
all that
Michelle.
I have. Thank you so much for having.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
I
Okay, I
think
think
we'll take on Tim, and then I
Tim,
think we'll finish with Nick.
Hey, Tim.
and we finish with Nick.
Hey,
Thank you, Tim. How are you doing?
good. I know we're at the top of the hour. Quick question that is more, I guess, maybe messaging compliance question in general. It sounds like you guys have a relationship with Airbnb, and then when you guys were talking earlier about sending links for, like if we have um, a visitor guide or a house manual guide, sending those links through the messaging system. Um, with the new terms and conditions that Airbnb sent out, and I think they go into effect in April, I did catch something that they will no longer allow hosts to send links to third-party applications. Have you heard that, or is that kind of a buzz going around with all the different, um, software companies out there? 'Cause I would imagine if that's truly going to be enforced, that could be a red flag for a lot of people. I'm curious if that's kind of making its way around, like on your end on the software and integrator side?
So that's a very good question. I'm not sure I have a great answer for you right now in terms of having a quality answer. I would love to check that out and find it out for you. What I can tell you is that this is not something that's been particularly escalated from the Airbnb connectivity team in recent weeks, and typically they are working obviously on sharing that with us with ample notice to ensure that we are making sure that the experience on all the software partners are basically on par with what Airbnb would expect. I would absolutely agree with you that there is a reasoning for limiting the access to links from Airbnb before a reservation is accepted and until and after the checkout day. So there is for now a window to share links that is from the moment the reservation is accepted until the end of the day of the checkout. After that, the links today no longer become available
Right.
on the Airbnb messaging app. They still obviously can be found back for the guest if they want to make the effort of going through their email inbox. That's not something that's been circulated. We've seen that there was a few more restrictions recently, but those were really before inquiries. So really, if you were using a word like Google, Facebook, those words are obviously banned. And there is also a change of behavior. Is that before, there were like sensitive contents hidden to replace the content of those messages. They can actually now cause the failure of the message. The message cannot be sent. And that's obviously something that was escalated to us because messages before a reservation is accepted would fail because there was, please check us out on Facebook. And that basically caused the message to be failed. So we had to take some action internally on our side to handle that. But yeah, I would check and find out. I don't believe that's the case. If I had to make an assumption, and it's obviously a pretty bold position, but I would say that really is third-party applications that are basically maybe outside of that window. But that's already the case. So yeah, I will need to find out. But I believe that if that was the case, obviously Airbnb would have to offer a solution to property managers that are obviously relying a lot, obviously on guides, TouchStay or Fully in particular in the industry.
Right.
Yeah, and if you had any examples that you could share with us, if you saw it in any forums or whatnot, Matthew@hospitable.com, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to do some research with you. I just did a quick Google search and Control F of the new terms and conditions. And it talks about third-party links, but that they're not endorsed by Airbnb.
I'll go back to it. And then, of course, who I'd have to follow up with is, like a TouchStay, or in my case, it's the Hospitable for their guidebook.
Oh, yeah.
But it seems like those are the ones who are really going to be probably paying attention to this because, it's the link to get to those guidebooks. Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you,
Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Okay, so we'll end today with Nick.
Woohoo. Lots of pressure, Nick.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I think you also submitted a question in Slido, right?
I did, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
we can hear you.
Perfect. Mine are kind of more, I don't know, either feature requests or maybe see if you guys are working on them. But when we receive an inquiry right now through Hospitable, we get a little bit of information. You click on the details, and most of the information that I get is, the description and things like that of the listing, which altogether isn't that helpful. Do you have an opportunity to sort of change what's in there and give the information around the booking, like that would show up in Airbnb? Here's the person, they have X amount of reviews, here's my potential earnings. That's the kind of information I'm looking for versus just like the description of the property, which obviously I wrote, so it isn't too helpful to be able to see it in there. And then the other question was around the messaging inbox. Do you have an ability, to add a refresh button so like I don't have to get out of the message, back into the inbox, back into the message to see the updates as people sort of message back and forth?
I'm gonna follow up on the second one. That is something that I can imagine Ben, who is listening to this in our team, is like kind of banging his head and wondering, why is that? That's not the expected experience. What we would like to have is obviously something that is working a bit differently, where the conversation refreshes automatically whenever there, as soon as there is a new message, and the inbox refreshing as well. I know that one of the two has been implemented. I cannot tell you for sure which, but indeed there is still an expectation to have a refresh. So, it's in line of our own roadmap. I know that Ben tried to make it work at separate initiatives to ensure that separate times that would be automatically refreshing. There are basically some a little bit fragile on the engineering side, if I dare to say. I think we've lost Nick just now. He's on the call. Thank you for coming back to us, Nick. I just wanted to ask you regarding your first question. What was the email that you were basically highlighting in particular?
No, so when we get an inquiry through one of the platforms, Airbnb or VRBO, that message thread comes up in Hospitable, and I get a little bit of information. They're looking to check in on Friday, check out on Sunday for 2 days, 2 guests, and I go to click on the details portion, and the details that it gives me really don't add any value. It actually, what I see is the listing name, the listing address, the description, again, which is something I've wrote, the property type, beds, bathrooms, all that kind of stuff, and I don't get any actual information. I have to go to, Airbnb or VRBO to see, okay, yeah, this is Mike. He's got 2 reviews. He's a good guest. He's been available since 2019, and my potential earnings are X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
And so I can get a much more information, because the details that are given through the Hospitable piece, like I said, aren't really details at all.
Yeah. So yeah, those are more like reservation detail or conversation details. Are you talking about the mobile or the web application in particular? Both. Yes.
They work the same way, yeah.
Because typically the guest details are basically something that's going to be shared between the top part of the application on the website, and then basically you have the bottom part, which are basically the insights. So basically, that's where we would show you the reviews that the guest has been receiving and their score and any kind of information, metadata that we can get from the guests in particular. That's not going to be by clicking on details. Clicking on details would indeed be all about, and I totally agree with you on that. I believe is that indeed those are more like information for people that are, not necessarily familiar with the volume that you're getting, and the conversation in particular. So are you familiar with the insight section? Or maybe Matthew, you can.
That's what I'm sorry, Pierre. That's exactly what I was going to ask. Like, have you seen that insights at the bottom? Because that's going to contain how long they've been active on Airbnb, right? How many reviews they have, even giving you examples of some most recent reviews. Do they have a verified ID or not? Like that would be there in the thread for you. The one piece that you're missing is the payout amount. And I know how
is all the
important that is for
financial
hosts.
data.
Yeah, that's one that's really important to see, hey, how much money would I get for this potential reservation?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Nick?
So, you just missed out on that kind of information, which is the financial info. And yeah, I do know the insights, around not verified or verified. Yeah, I see that down there.
But I agree. I mean, we probably are worth kind of refining the things a little bit on the pop-up that's happening for when you click on details, because I'm on the user's account right now, and I realize that basically most of the space is taken by those kind of listing descriptions, and that's definitely not necessarily helpful for you. The point about the payout is really great, and so it's very difficult for us. Because we're displaying by default the subtotal. The subtotal is a number that is going to be used consistently from the first inquiry, from the first contact, up until the moment you have a reservation. That's the only number that we know for sure from a channel like Airbnb. The payout, we can only know whenever there is a reservation that's accepted. And they can communicate that to you, and they give you they are not sure actually about what is going to be the final payout for you. There may be something that we can do to improve based on, for example, on your markup. So if you set a markup for Airbnb, that should be 3%. That may be 15% in some cases. In that case, we know that it's going to be we have the subtotal. We kind of can take out the markup from that amount, and we can calculate you the markup. The challenge is that, you know, a lot of users are also kind of tinkering a little bit around those markup percentages. So, for example, the one I'm seeing right now is a markup of well in excess of 30%. And so we would completely misalign the payouts expected there. So that is not a number that's communicated from us at every stage of the conversation by Airbnb. I do know, I've checked the Airbnb roadmap recently for the API integration, and they wanted to really work more on, you know, having a quote API, so having more transparency for the prices that are offered and for the payout that you would receive from your guest. That's something that we actually are very impatient to implement because we always, you know, want to have a reliable price to communicate to guests. That's part of the total shortcode that we're using. That's very popular, and making sure that we have that kind of reliable number. And we would, depending on the implementation by Airbnb, we may be able to also give you a more certain number about the payout. At the same time, everything is going to be moving until the moment you have a reservation that's accepted, that is confirmed. So that's kind of the challenge in terms of product, to kind of convey something with certainty, but when something is actually not sent up. Okay, Nick.
Yep, I am.
So we'd love to hear, especially about your feedback, if you can, about kind of insights, details. Tell me what you would like to see as part of the details window, and just if you can share with me a few notes, a few bullet points to share on pc@hospitable.com, pc@hospitable.com, and I would love to basically keep that in mind whenever we are adjusting the inbox next.
Thank you. I'll do that.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Nick. So thank you to everyone. I think we've gone a little bit over time, but all productive stuff. So thank you, everyone, for those of you who've stayed with us. For those who didn't get the chance to share today, please feel free to submit your questions. Again, at Sado.com, we will get to them in the next town hall. For constructive feedback, we also have the feedback.hospital.com board, the feature request board. And of course, any questions about our product suite, please feel free to drop a line to our customer support team at support@hospitable.com, and they will do their best to help you. I think that's it for today, unless Pierre and Matthew have any last words. Otherwise, I will bid us all adieu.
Thank you, Angela, for your assistance. Thank you, everyone, for being on stage. I will be replying to the questions that were shared on the Slido right now. So doing a bit more of an async Q&A. Thank you very much, everyone, and stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. See you in 2 weeks. We'll hear you in 2 weeks.
Thanks all. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.